All right. We are in for a special treat today because I have turned the microphone around and I have Scott Friedman with his Ticket Talk, his Twitter feed, his Discord channel, um, everything tickets here with me today. Scott, what's up, my man?
Dave, it's always a pleasure to be back on. I think I did one of these on the 4 years ago. I was thinking yesterday, and wow, times have changed in ticketing over the last 4 years. I mean, it evolves every day. I can't keep up. There's just always news. 2025 has been an absolutely crazy year in ticketing, and with all the legislation, which I know we'll get into, and all the crazy stuff of tickets and live events 365 days a year, 24/7. I can barely keep up, but I love it.
Yeah, I was going to say this. So it's been that long since we've done one on on the business of fun,
On
because
the business of fun, we
oh
did it in
wow,
2021.
I can't
I
believe
believe
it's
the
been
summer
that
of
long.
2021 during COVID.
Yeah, okay, all right. I mean, because I just feel I talk to you so regularly that I had never even thought that like we hadn't done this. So that's fine. It's fine. There's no beef between Dave and Scott. There's the opposite
No,
of
we've been
beef.
on Ticket Talk and Scott's takes probably a dozen times since then.
Yeah, that's why it's so weird that we didn't do this. All right, so I don't even know where to start. I guess we'll start like with a big picture thing. And if you had to describe, and I'll make it difficult for you, because I like to challenge you. If you had to describe the 2025 world of tickets in like 5 words or less, what would you say?
Wow, that's absolutely a loaded question. I would say, in five or less words, I would say never a dull moment of chaos. I think that's 6 words. Or is that five?
I got to count here. Hold on a sec. That's
I think
six.
that's six.
Yeah, we'll allow that, right? Because
Okay.
a and of are kind of like you need them to hold the hold the sentence together. So we'll go with that. Okay, so never a dull moment of chaos, right? And why do you say that?
It's just what we've seen in 2025 for ticketing is just obviously the main part of it is the day-to-day ticketing. Obviously, that hasn't changed. The operation issues, the MLB app crashes, NFL app crashed in London for the Browns Vikings game yesterday. But most importantly, besides the daily chaos that we see every day, is that the ticket legislation has put a massive scares tactics on the resale industry, specifically starting really in the spring with New York and Doofus Scoofus, as I say, the state center of New York, introducing the price cap, which the Coalition of Ticket Fairness did a great job to prevail to prevent that from happening in 2025. So kudos to Jason Berger and the team. But as we progressed in the summer and the fall, the Federal Trade Commission came out. They sued. They allegedly accused KIG for using bots. Then a couple weeks later, just a couple weeks ago, they sued Ticketmaster. So definitely a target is on resale, and it's definitely a scary time for all ticket resellers that are selling tickets to see what's the future going to be. Is there going to be resale caps? Obviously, bots need to be cleaned up. Obviously, the bad actors need to go and they need to get out. But what is the future of resale going to be? And really, right now, Dave, I cannot tell you what that it will be 12 months or 24 months down the road. We know that the legal process takes a while, and the FTC Ticketmaster, the KIG FTC suit's probably going to go on for many years, but the crystal ball is, are we living in a closed market 5 years from now? I really can't answer that question.
Okay, so you brought up a lot. You hit my almost all of my checklist here. So that's thank you. Because
Yeah,
then at the
you
end I can
bet.
go, Scott, man, we hit everything. It's great. We did it
Make
all.
this short and sweet today.
Okay, so I want to hit on this idea, the legislation idea, especially because it's a ball of issues, right? And the thing I've always said to people is, um, when things are like really probably at the maximum amount of chaos in the country, the tickets will get a lot of attention because it's easy for everybody to get involved in. It's easy wins for both sides. So obviously chaos must be reigning all around because tickets are like like really a primary target of things right now. Um, and I think I'll start with because I kind of sit in this unique position where I straddle both sides, and I try to be fair to people on both sides. I definitely am not one of those people who like the primary side can do no wrong. I'm definitely not a person that'll say the secondary market can do no wrong. I think the whole thing's kind of a mess most of the time. If you
It
if
is.
I had to do the same thing to you, I'd say kind of a mess. Kind of a mess. That's forward. See, there you go. Between the two of us, we got 10. So that's five each. That's great. Thinking about these kind of like this whole picture. I'll start with the question and put it like this. When you look at the resale market and people there, because it's easy to take shots at resellers, it's easy to take shots at the primary side, but we'll start with the resellers. A lot of fans, a lot of consumers, a lot of consumers' rights advocates, um, a lot, just tons and tons of people. I think probably the majority of people would look at the way the resale market operates and go, "Well, yeah, you should be taking these guys down, and yeah, you know, we got to put a stop to this stuff." What is your argument for, you know, some like the resale market right now? Because and this is my point of view, just so you have it. And you probably know what it is. It's like there's a lot of people who provide a value and provide a service, and that's kind of the environment I came out of. But there's a lot of people who just are gaming things. They're not adding a lot of value. They're just rent seeking. If you use the economic term, they're just rent seeking behavior. Arbitrage is their favorite term, and
Sure.
and it's and that's one that for me is kind of sometimes hard for me to justify and definitely hard to defend. So what would be your argument?
So here's my argument, and my argument has evolved, Dave. And this is a very good question. So just to point out first, I think this is a two-part question. Most fans don't realize that 70% of all live events between sports and concerts around the US are 70% less than the original face value or below. So most of the events, as we call it on X Twitter, is a pace to wait. So the secondary market benefits fans 70% of the time. That I can't stress enough to all the naysayers that say that scalpers rip people off. 70% of the time, ticket resellers fail. Only 30% of the time we succeed on average. I mean, I'm not saying those numbers are absolutely
Mhm.
to the point accurate, but it's very, very close from what I've heard. And one day I'll be able to source it and prove those are the correct numbers. The second part of your question is a very good point, and that where I've evolved as a person over time. When you talked to me 3, 4 years ago, I would have said to you, I think that the consolidators, the rights holders are the main point of how resale should work and so forth. And you know what? They do a great job. The rights holders choose them. Everyone else stay out. So that was really my stance like a while ago. But here's where I think the middleman and the broker work in the ecosystem. And this is really about what my Discord's all about. And I know we'll talk about that later. But just to give you an example, I think that a company like Eventellect or Victory Live or Tickets for Less Prolific One appreciate when other resellers um, mitigate their risk and buy on positions for sports more than you think, because they take so much risk, they have so much inventory. So if I gambled on I'm just giving an example, the New York Yankees, and let's say one consolidator had that, I'm actually mitigating the risk of that broker, and I'm taking risk off of them. So I think that middleman as brokers really play a role in ticket distribution, and I really think they mitigate the risk of a consolidator. And you can go have Patrick Ryan and the big guys on and ask them that. Maybe they deny it because it's not politically correct, but I really think that it really is a free market we're in, and I really think that brokers do a favor when they're buying from consolidated markets on the B2B exchanges, on Automatic IU, on Ticket Evolution, on TickPick's platform. I really think that it is a free market, and I really think it mitigates risk from the big guys that have a lot of inventory. And deep down, I really think they appreciate that for most events when that happens. Obviously, there'll be winners and losers on both sides, but that's why there is a free market, and that's why it's so great, is that with the B2B exchange, it really creates a free market for every reseller on the planet, in my opinion.
So this is one I'm glad you brought it up because I see you talk about it on the Twitter X, uh, and I'm just going to call it Twitter. I refuse to
Yep.
call it X. You talk about the free market a lot, and so
Yep.
my philosophy is that like this free market concept, and I'm going to use the air quotes here, free market is a bunch of nonsense because there's no such thing as a free market. All markets are created by people, and the truth is that as soon as like you say you're doing a free market, there's people who are on chipping away on both sides to like game it for them. Why is that not true in tickets?
It's I don't think it's true in tickets because, like, I mean, first and foremost, in a perfect world, and this goes on the primary side too, is that I think artists, I think promoters, I think managers are way too sensitive with ticket resellers. And they have every right to do distribution deals with AXS distribution. They have every right to not go with Live Nation if they feel that Live Nation's not doing them any good on their ticket distribution, like Chapel Roan
Mhm.
did for her three-stop tour and so forth. So I think folks, and not to call out a guy like Randy Nichols, who I respect as a person, and we agree on most things, that there's so many bad actors in ticketing that need to go. But I really think that managers and folks on the music end specifically really should embrace the secondary, should embrace the different channels to distribute their tickets, whether it's doing a deal, whether it's direct listing and so forth. And really, they just have that anti-ticket reselling mode that really has never left, like since like the beginning of time. And really, I believe that they're penalizing themselves for going from that angle. They're penalizing the fans too. Like it's no reason why. Let's just bring Oasis for an example. Obviously, I went to go see him in Toronto for $120 about a month ago with Nolan Dwyer. They don't have the demands here in the U.S., but imagine if they just did a closed market, didn't allow resellers come into place. They still would have probably been near $1,000 getting like they are in London and UK and around Europe right now. So really, I think that it's just like such a disadvantage of the closed market protecting the acts. It doesn't, the math does not make sense on either side of it. It's really just putting a target on ticket resellers, and it affects the whole ticketing ecosystem distribution. In my opinion, it's not a win for anybody, because the world we live in, the primary and secondary are blended, whether you like it or not.
Okay, so there's a lot, right? So number one, I don't know that you really like. I think what you're saying is that your idea of the free market, right? Again, I think that the term is bogus. I think it's bullshit.
Sure.
Um, but you're saying that if you don't allow like some kind of structured and controlled resale, then a black market will
Correct.
pop up, and that no, and that the black market would be even worse because then there would be no protections, no constraint, no, you know, a lot of room for harm in a black market, which
Correct.
I would probably agree with. That I think is like um, you know, probably an easy argument to make. Um, and then you talk about the needs of the distribution. My return on this distribution thing, and I've talked to Randy about the distribution idea too, in the Slack channel. Right, we've gone back and forth about this because he's always curious about how to make distribution a little more effective for like the acts that he works with, or just in general. Um, you also talk about open distribution a lot. And I'm curious about that because I feel like the free market and the open distribution conversations a lot of times gets merged together in this thing. I know that um I walk a line where there's two things going on with distribution, right? I know that like some things benefit from open distribution and some things don't. And you, I think, take the position of open distribution all the time works. Um, will you make the case to that for me? Because I'll give you my point of view, so I'm not like sandbagging you here with
Yep.
these things. Like also give you a chance to make up your like come up with an answer because it's like a little bit of a complex issue. I feel that like if you are the marketer, if you're the person who's built the product, come up with the strategy, done all this, then you have every right to control the pricing and control um, the distribution, right? You
Yep.
can control the four P's: the product, price, place, and promotion. A lot of times, a lot of products, and I'd say most tickets benefit from you know awareness, right? So the more times you can see it, and the more availability. So mental and physical availability is beneficial.
Sure.
I think the challenge is though, to me, is that in most of the cases I say that, and I think we can all agree is that I am a really well trained marketer. So I make really conscious decisions about what the strategy is. Use the research.
Yep.
Fill out my research survey, right? So I know what's going on in tickets. But it's easy to paint these things with like this broad stroke brush and just like, oh, open distribution. It's like I think I mentioned the one time. It's if everybody or no one is doing something, then it's like bogus.
Mhm.
Why is open distribution the way to go? So that's my thing is like going, it's context matters. And you're just saying like open distribution. Unless I'm misquoting you, and at which point you tell me I'm a knucklehead because I would deserve it.
So here's the deal, and this is very complex question. So I'm not saying that
That's why I gave you
X is
time. That's why I
what's
gave
that?
you time. That's
It's a
why I gave
very
you time to
complex
form
question. Dave, we can talk for 12 hours on this question alone because it's so complex. But let's just break it down at a high level. I'm all for artists, sports teams, utilizing proper and great ticket distribution with all the great companies that they utilize the Eventilex, the Victory Lives, Prolific One, Elevate. You can give John Marks credit to. He did a good job with the Penn State Oregon market a couple weeks ago. And I give him credit when credit's due, by the way. But back to the question is that is fine. Like obviously teams, and if I was a rights holder, I would probably use one of those companies to manage my overall secondary distribution and so forth. But going back to the last like question, like it's it's fine for the middleman because Event Select, Elevate, Prolific One, Tickets for Less. They all list on the broker to broker exchanges, the automatic IQs, the Tick Picks, the Ticket Evolutions, um, C Clubs becoming a B2B marketplace too with Cole Rubin also. So essentially, like my big point is that when those tickets are broadcasted, if a broker buys those tickets, like what are you going to do about it? They're going to be in a broker's hands. Nobody can prevent anyone going on StubHub and buying Eventilex inventory for the Houston Astros for XYZ games. So that's why I like consider it an open market because um, they're free for brokers to buy, and when you can't just go ahead and cancel a secondary transaction if myself bought two tickets from Elevate for Penn State, like what are they going to do? Cancel my transaction on StubHub? So that's like why I see it as like an open market, and it's obviously blended between the primary and the secondary. And then obviously too, like you said, teams need to do a good job of doing good ticket distribution, not going from the race to the bottom to protect their integrity and so forth. But what I'm saying at a high level, Dave, is that there really is no such thing as an exclusive market anymore, because B2B is so popular. So many resellers are shifting towards, I think we were ahead of the game of creating the Discord based on B2B. And I really think that as long as resale is allowed, as long as there's no crazy caps, this is how B2B, this is how ticket resellers are going to have to evolve to make it, with all the legislation of buying on sales and the bots effect that's going to go into effect over the next 18, 24 months. This is the future of being a ticket reseller, in my opinion.
Okay, so one thing I picked up on in this last your last answer here, we talked about your Discord, but you say it's a B2B Discord.
Yeah.
Now, what does that mean exactly?
So what my Discord, 90% of it is finding niches of events that already went on sale. So let's just take an example of, and I don't want to discuss too much information and give every reseller ideas of what we do, because it is a private group and so forth, but everyone knows about Clayton Kershaw, right? So when he announced his retirement for his last home game at Dodger Stadium like 2 weeks ago, we were on top of it, and we said to buy now. And all those tickets the brokers bought on weren't on the Dodgers primary. They were on the underpriced second, they were on the secondary exchanges, the automatic IQs, the ticket evolutions, the C clubs, the TickPick B2B platform. So what I'm saying is that those are the type of events that we need to focus on. Those are the type of events where resellers are not buying on the primary, they're buying on the B2B secondary exchanges. And essentially, that's kind of like the thesis of what our Discord's all about, is finding the best investments, finding the best flips that are events already on sale in music, in sports and so forth. The NBA Young Boys of the world. NBA Young Boy wasn't even on the radar back in September during his on sale, and all of a sudden he gives a couple good shows. His tours exploded. He's the biggest hip hop artist on the planet right now. Same with Backstreet Boys back in the summer, Dave. I was one of my worst
You
takes
love the
ever. I said that,
Backstreet Boys.
and I get a lot of heat for the Backstreet Boys. Thank God my Discord wasn't around then. Otherwise, I probably would have 0 people in the group right now. But I said that the Backstreet Boys are going to flop. It's the summer in Vegas. The economy's going down. They're going to be under $100 get it. Lo and behold, they go perform.
Uh-oh. Oh, there he is. And we're back.
I got cut off for some reason. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, I saw you. You were talking about the Backstreet Boys.
Yeah, we got to go back to the Backstreet Boys.
Yeah, we got to, and you were saying the like $100 get-ins. So,
yeah,
and I'll edit it. I'll do a Mike Fish here. Like this will be like one of the very rare episodes that I'm actually going to have to edit.
yeah.
So
Let me know
thank
when
you
I
for
should
that.
take it. Yeah, I know
Go ahead.
exactly
You
what I
take.
want.
Okay, perfect. Go right ahead whenever you
Okay.
want.
Okay. So no, sorry we cut off there for a second. But like I said, the Backstreet Boys back in the summer, probably one of my worst takes ever. And I predict there'd be $100 get in. Obviously, they're not a hot band. They would easily be a $15 Live Nation special if they did an amphitheater tour. And all of a sudden, their first week of the tour, they gave an amazing show, amazing production at the Sphere, just an amazing intro. And obviously, everyone got the FOMO effect, fear of missing out, which absolutely skyrocketed the Backstreet Boys Sphere markets, which created five, six, $700 get-ins for the remainder of their summer tour. So a lot of it is just catching those types of acts that have an amazing opening night performance and really get to the point where, you know what, Backstreet Boys had an amazing performance. We expect to see a massive surge. NBA YoungBoy, um, market surge XYZ before his show in Atlanta. Obviously, it's going to create a ripple effect for the remainder of the tour. So that's really what we focus on a day-to-day basis within my Discord group.
Okay. And I can imagine my email inbox filling up right now
Yeah.
after I release this conversation later on in the day, once after we get done. And they're gonna go like, see, this is the problem with the secondary market, which is like it's investments. And so again, this is where I kind of can hold two
Mm-hmm.
opposing ideas in my mind at the same time. You know, it's like if it was a collectible, right? Like
Yep.
baseball cards, um, Teletubbies,
Mm-hmm.
Funko Pops, first edition autographed copies of The Great Gatsby, then
Yep.
people are cool with an investment.
Mm-hmm.
On the other side, if it's a ticket, it's not cool. How do you make that argument that they're like kind of that they're similar, right? Like how do you make that argument? Because I think that sort of a little bit is like lies at the heart of people's disillusionment with the secondary market.
I'm just going to make it clear, Dave, and I'd be all for a resale cap in 10%. If you want to cap cars at 10%, if you want to cap real estate transactions at 10%, if you want to cap groceries at 10% profit margin, if you want to cap all the goods in every industry and make it fair for everybody, fine, cap tickets at 10%. So I just think that people get way too sensitive. Once I buy a ticket from any concert, any sporting event, there should be no restrictions on who I can send that ticket to or who I could sell that ticket to. Ultimately, it's a free market. For some reason, since the beginning of time, being a ticket reseller just acts like you're the worst person, the worst human being ever. But when you collect baseball cards or when a car dealer marks up their new car at 200, 300%, you brag about it. You brag about buying a Mercedes. You brag about buying a Lamborghini. But in tickets, if I sell for a 1% profit on any concert, any sporting event, I'm the worst human being ever. And it just absolutely makes no sense to me.
Yeah, I think from like conversations that I have with people too, I think part of the I think it's like the ticket resale sometimes, and I think this might be one of those moments is that the cost of living in so many areas is just
Sure.
exorbitant, right? And like they tell the official statistics will tell me that the inflation rate is under control, but when I go to the grocery store or I go do something, like I'm like, my God, everything costs 20-30% more than it
Right.
did a year ago. And I think that this is where part of this comes up because you can see the patience and the tolerance for ticket resale. Kind of it's like a little bit of a thermostat, right? Like sometimes it's like the intensity against it is really, really high, and sometimes it's not as high. And I think that what it seems like to me is that a lot of this conversation is driven by just frustration with the world at large,
Right.
which brings me back to the idea of these legislations things, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, what would a decent amount of legislation look like? Because you said never a dull moment of chaos,
Yep.
and I forget exactly what I said. I said, but it's like a little bit of a mess. I think it was something like
Yep.
that.
Hmm.
So I think we can both agree, and I think
Hmm.
most of the people that we know can agree that like the way things are working now aren't
Hmm.
necessarily working for most people.
Right.
So what would some of these like like a smart piece of legislation look like from your point of view?
Great question. And what we need to talk about, and what has been a theme of my 25 year, is bad actors in ticketing. There's so many bad actors in ticketing. Tickets Junkie is one of them. I'm not going to get much into that, but if you follow me on X throughout the spring, and if you go back, you'll see all my comments on Tickets Junkie. We can't have bad actors in ticketing. We can't have people botting 1,000 tickets for a Coldplay or a Taylor Swift drop in Ticketmaster. That happens every single day. It's happening with NBA YoungBoy and so forth. So it's a very difficult thing to stop because literally, Dave, folks can literally try to do it legitimately and literally hire 100 people in the Philippines or to create Ticketmaster accounts under their identities and continue to pull tickets. That's obviously the FTC's arguing that that is illegal, which in my vantage point, it isn't. If you have 100 people with legit identities pull tickets for an NBA young boy and so forth, but absolutely, bots should be absolutely banned. Any technical advantage to buy tickets should not exist, and the harshest penalties should be enforced by the DOJ and the Trump administration and the FTC. But we need to make it, and it never will be close to perfect, but we need to make it a even playing field for fans and resellers to buy tickets without an advantage. And that's the biggest problem we're seeing now on that side. And there needs to be a way, there needs to be a precedent to be set that if you bought using the crazy technology, whatever they use. I'm not an IT guy. That should be a massive fine and potentially some massive jail time. I'm 100% for that. So we need to definitely we need the government to step in on the bad actors and so forth. But when it comes to the resale caps, that's just absolutely absurd and pathetic and so forth. Like I said, if you're going to do it for ticketing, do it for every industry. Make it fair for the American people to have only a 10% cap on everything. But obviously, how will businesses make it on a 10% cap for everything they sell? It's just not doable. It's not doable for the economy and so forth. So, all for get rid of the bad actors, but don't worry. I mean, don't even do a cap. It is not good for the fan. It's not good for the artist. It's not good for anybody. It makes absolute no sense. And these politicians like Doofus James Scoofus just does it to make himself look good. But when I'm educating him and when I tweeted him until the end of time, he's going to realize that I'm right and he is wrong. And we can't have resale caps for tickets in the United States of America.
Okay. So your idea of a smart legislation would be finding a way to get rid of the bad actors
Yes.
and controlling bots. But isn't that what the Bots Act is really designed to do? And again, if I'm not mistaken, it's been used what, once?
It's been used once. So Dan Wall came on my podcast back in January. He said it's only been used once since like 2017, 2018. And then that's on the FTC, Dave. That's absolutely on the FTC. That's on the DOJ for not doing anything about it over the last 7 years. And here we are in 2025. They're finally acting on it again 7 years later. So that's on the DOJ. That's on the FTC for not acting upon it. I truly believe I talked to Dan Wall. I truly believe that he reports what is happening with bots on a regular basis. At least what he's told me. Potentially, he's not telling the truth, but allegedly, I believe. Why 7 years later are they finally doing something about bots? I know we work very, very slow here with the legal system here in the U.S., but it is just kind of odd that all of a sudden the FTC creates a bot act, the DOJ, and finally they're bringing it up again here in 2025, 7 years later from that bill.
Yeah, because I mean, my hypothesis has always been like, oh, tickets is an easy target.
Mm-hmm.
But I also realize that like if there is not any enforcement, then it doesn't matter. It's just it's all for show.
100%.
Um, and so like that's always my question. I was like, going, what's to stop? Is all of this like talk of legislation and talk of all these like things? Is it going to be real, or is it just going to be like the Bots Act, which is like basically just something that gets is on the books but isn't enforced? So like some of the time I think about it like, is this all just noise and distraction to just make sure that like nothing really changes?
I mean, that's going to really determine what happens with KIG versus FTC and Ticketmaster versus FTC. And like I said in the beginning of the podcast, like this will probably take years and years for an outcome to determine whether
Mhm.
Ticketmaster pays a fine to the FTC or a KIG pays a fine or a KIG seems like they're going to go the distance and take the FTC to trial from what I've been hearing from my sources. So time will tell. I mean, obviously, these are the big cases that we need to continue to pay attention on. That's going to really set the future of resale, or maybe we're overreacting, like you said, and maybe nothing really happens. It's just kind of a scarce tactic from the DOJ, FTC, and lo and behold, a year or two from now, it's operating as status quo. So those are the main thing. But I can tell you right now, Dave, there's never been a time between those like two cases where there's such a worrisome and scare tactics, especially for like the good brokers in the industry that do good, do the right thing, don't use bots, um, invest in flip tickets as a good actor, which is all of my folks in my Discord. They're following the rules. They're not using bots. They're doing everything correctly. So it's definitely a fear from the industry, but we're going to have to. I don't have a crystal ball of where it's going to go. I mean, I think I sit on a ticket talk tonight. It can go two ways. It can go the way where it's status quo and it's just a scarce tactic, and Ticketmaster, KIG pay a little fine to the FTC, and it's business as usual. Or the FTC and DOJ come out extremely harsh with a crazy fine. Um, KIG loses in trial hypothetically, and nobody wants to mess with resale anymore because it's a massive fine to bot and somebody's getting jail time. So those are the two cases that's going to determine the outcome of the future of resale. If it's going to be status quo or people are going to be like, is it worth selling tickets anymore because I don't want to get caught from the DOJ, FTC by doing unlawful things, selling tickets.
Okay. All right. So let's turn this. We'll turn two other areas real quick before I let you go because I don't want to keep you too long. First off, let's talk about just ticket sales in general now because I know you have some really great data that you point to regularly. It looked like the NFL tickets market started off slow, right on the secondary market.
Yep.
The NBA and the NHL have started off slow, I think is what you told me.
Yep.
Um, what is driving these slowed down sales in your opinion?
And if so going to the NFL, it is just well overdue. These teams over the last 3-4 years since COVID ended have just been increasing their season ticket price, crazy amounts, like between like 30 and 100% in a lot of these markets. And somebody said this on X, which I agree with so forth because I was talking about this probably with you, a lot of other people back in 2019. So 2019, before the pandemic hit, it was kind of like we were kind of going in recession mode again and so forth. And we were
Mhm.
worried there was an oversupply of inventory on the ticketing side of it. Then lo and behold, COVID happens, which COVID created a reset because we didn't really have live events going on for a year and a half. And it created a boom in ticketing from 22 to the end of 2024. And lo and behold, you go with the politics of the Trump tariffs, the economic conditions, um, the big problem with the NFL is more consumers more than ever can't afford their season tickets. So what are they doing? They're putting them on the resale market, and they're flooding the resale market since the on sale back in May. So over in the summer, I'm seeing this in August, talking to big players in the spaces, and said nobody is selling NFL tickets. It's absurd. Usually there's a big spike from the on sale in May and into June, and obviously into August before the season starts. There was barely any traction on the secondary for NFL sales leading up to this season. And I can say the first 5 weeks of the season has been 90% of the markets have been pays to wait, and tickets are rapidly decaying. Fans are getting amazing deals for the NFL. And I can tell you right now, Dave, I believe the 2026 renewals is a massive, massive scarce for the NFL. I think we're going to see massive people dropping their tickets on the consumer side, and the NFL is definitely in for a rude awakening for renewing at a very low percentage in the majority of markets for the 2026 NFL season, because simply consumers cannot afford NFL season tickets right now.
Okay, so let me ask you a follow-up question on this because you said little traction on NFL tickets. What do you mean by little traction? So that people like
Nobody,
listening,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. No one's buying on secondary, which is creating pace away because there's too many. I mean, it's obviously basic supply and demand. More consumers, more than ever, are listing their NFL season tickets. Why is that? Because they can't afford their season tickets. They need to dump 3, 4, 5 games when they would usually go to all 8 or 9 games.
yeah.
So essentially, we're seeing more listings than ever for the majority of NFL markets, besides the big ticket resale deals that the consolidators control most of NFL. More consumers, more than ever, are listing their NFL tickets on the secondary, which is creating obviously too much supply, which is creating the pace to wait effect for 90% of all NFL games after week 5 and so forth. So it just goes to show you is that NFL has just increased their season ticket prices. Consumers really can't afford them, so they have to list them on the secondary to offset their costs, which isn't working, which I believe, and we have to follow up next winter and spring, is that we are going to see a massive drop in NFL season tickets on the consumer side for the 2026 season.
Okay, and so you said, because it's interesting because the NHL and the NBA, they both kind of start their seasons right around now, so
Yep.
similar time frame. And you said that the data you see shows that those ticket sales have been slow compared to and I guess like a normal would be a wrong way of putting it. I guess a typical year. Like how far off do you think they appear to be?
So my data right now, so like year to year, and we've been tracking NBA specifically. NHL is trending very similar too, but specifically on the NBA, over like obviously preseason just starting for the NBA and going into September sales, I've been getting data from brokers that sales are down from about 20 to 25% year over year for NBA sales. So NBA obviously also is 44 games, lots of games. Um, they've always struggled with October, November, December games really until the Christmas time kicks off. I mean, I believe that Commissioner Silver should start the season at Christmas. I don't think it'll happen because obviously it's complex with TV and so forth. But really, it hasn't been much buying for NBA. Their on sale back in late August was a complete dud. And folks are just not excited about the NBA and NHL season. Too many games. The games really don't mean much. The players don't really start to play until the playoffs in April. Obviously, the NBA Gold Cup, whatever they call it, in Vegas creates a little excitement, but not much excitement as they anticipated for the Gold Cup in the fall and so forth. So people are not buying. And like I said, just like the NFL, the NBA teams are getting greedy. They're increasing their prices in a lot of these markets, and it's creating more consumers to put tickets on the marketplaces, which obviously decays the market, which creates a pace to wait effect in the NBA. Similar trends with the NHL. So, like I said, Dave, this is a quote for the podcast. We're in the ultimate ticket correction for sports tickets lately, specifically as a season ticket holder, because teams have got too greedy. They're charging too much, and it's showing on the secondary markets.
And so the NHL is in a similar because similar length of schedule.
Yep.
Um, yeah, and actually, if I'm not mistaken, the NHL gets more of their revenue from tickets than any other league, like as a
They do.
percentage. Um, I know you don't maybe you don't have the same it's the same data on the NHL, but it's following a similar trend line. You said where the sales have been down significantly through the start of the season. You said with the NBA, it's down about 20 to 25%.
Yep.
And is that also reflected in the pricing, or are the prices even low, like even trending lower? You know, like how's that working?
They're trending very lower. I mean, on the secondary, specifically for the October, November games and so forth. And it all comes down to, Dave, is these rights holders are getting way too aggressive by increasing season tickets year after year. We're not in the post-COVID boom anymore. We're 3 years into the future, and fans cannot afford to pay these enormous season ticket prices, which they were
Yeah.
accustomed to back um,
Mhm.
before COVID, or obviously the fear of missing out, the after COVID boom in ticketing, which was crazy. They just kept it. They got too greedy. They're increasing the prices, and we're going to see all-time lows, just like we're seeing with the NFL. We're going to see all-time lows in the NBA and NHL for ticket prices on the secondary this season.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I one okay, so there's two examples that I use to like just when you think about like people can't afford these things that I go back to over and over again. I saw a beer study. You know how I like always look at
Yep.
the prices of beer. And
Yep.
like so I think it was like $18 for a Bud Light at Nats Park. And I was just like going, my God, you can get a 30 pack in your grocery store for that. And I was like going, I started nightclubs, so I know the economics of beer. That's why I look at beer.
Sure.
But then also I saw recently where it was like parking was at place was like $100,
It's crazy.
and I was just like, well, how do you expect people to be able to afford? Like these are mass market products, you
Yep.
know. You need like your TV deals built on number of eyes.
Right.
Your attendance is like you're trying to get you have a 40,000 seat stadium if you're a baseball team, and like you have to create this atmosphere and this sense of community and this like you, this mystique of an event. Like how can you do it if you're charging somebody like almost $20 for a beer, probably $20 with a tip
Yep.
for a 16-ounce beer or something, or 20, maybe 24-ounce
It's
beer.
crazy.
It's Bud Light, so I consider it like, not even beer most of the time. It's like it's near beer, allegedly. um,
Yep.
no, I'm kidding. I have no problem with Bud Light. Um, One final question then. So
Yep.
your social media uh, platform empire that you've built on Twitter. Um, how do I make sure I stay out of your crosshairs so I don't get like don't get beat up on like so many other people are? What, what have I done right to stay out of the Scott Friedman crosshairs?
Dave, what I respect about you, and you know how I am, man. I think I've evolved over the
I'm
last four or
busted,
five
man.
years.
I'm busting your chops. So
I know you are, but no, no, that's a great question, because over the last 4 or 5 years, I mean, when I decided back in May of 21 that I was gonna be my person, be my guy, and state my facts and be fully authentic, I got a lot of heat for it and pissed off a lot of people back in the early days of doing it. Maybe I was a little bit too aggressive at times, but and so forth. But what I remember I think you told me this about 2 years ago, and it really kind of stuck to me. And I think I've done a pretty good job of improving is providing value. And I really think
Mhm.
that shows in how fast we were able to grow our Discord group and provide value, provide insight, obviously getting more consulting opportunities more than ever. So really my thesis is to be myself, to call out people that I don't agree with, which is not is what I continue to do on social media and X. But obviously, most importantly, is provide value, and that's really what I want to evolve to make Ticket Talk monetize. I think soon you're going to see the Ticket Talk network become. I really want to make it official media platform, the Ticket Talk network, all tickets, all every day. Whether I'm the person that's giving the analysis or we hire somebody, but my really big goal is to monetize the Ticket Talk network, make it the official place for fans to look at every single day, and obviously resellers to be in tuned and informed for live events every single day, 365 days a year. And you've stayed out of my crosshairs because I just agree with you, Dave. If I didn't agree with you,
It's also
I
that
would call you out
licensing
just like
agreement.
everyone else.
It's that licensing agreement because you took you called it ticket talk, and I have talking tickets, so
Exactly.
you can't
When I
cross
went
the
through that
boss.
deal, that was about a year ago this time. Exactly. There's that licensing deal that I've stayed off your I stayed off of you. So it's
Oh, I
100%
forgot
correct.
one more thing. I do
Yeah.
have one more thing, because we had to in when I put out a call for questions, and
Yep.
or what people wanted to talk about. We were supposed to talk about Mike Guffrey. So if you don't have, I mean, Mike, I know Mike, terrible person. Terrible guy. No, Mike's a great guy. So I figured I told him I would work him into the thing. So I was like going, I figured that would be a joke he would appreciate. But Mike's a great guy. I believe he's now a Ticket Network.
Yep.
Um, but like, since he wanted us to talk about him, the stuff he did with the Battle Hawks for the XFL, he did just really tremendous work. So Mike Guffrey, there's your shout out in the podcast. Scott, where do people find you? Where can they find the Discord group? Where do you want to
Yep.
point people to on the internet?
Absolutely. No, second that, I'm Mike Guffrey. He's one of the most knowledgeable guys in ticketing, and I'm glad he's doing amazing things with Ticket Network. He always has provided me exceptional intel over the last 4 or 5 years, like yourself and many
Total
others
G,
in the industry.
as the kids would say, a total G.
Exactly, exactly. But where can folks find me? I mean, obviously, we're trying to get monetized with Ticket Talk tonight. So anytime you like a post on X, Scott Friedman 3 on X, you like the Ticket Talk and Ticket Talk Tonight episodes all over social. We're on LinkedIn, we're on Spotify now, we're everywhere. We're on YouTube. So you'll find me everywhere, every single day, 24/7, 365. Our Discord group is capped. It's sold out, but we will create a Green Bay Packers style waiting list for you to get in and hopefully get in 10 years from now. So be on the lookout for a Discord waitlist group for Ticket Talk coming very soon if you're looking to join that eventually. But my expertise, my goal is I hope the 60 members that we have now stay in forever. I never have to recruit anyone ever again.
Yeah, maybe the talking tickets can get into the Ticket Talk network. I don't know.
Maybe it could.
Maybe so.
Absolutely.
If I keep working hard, I might get somewhere. Scott, man, thank you
Absolutely.
for doing this, my man.
Always a pleasure, Dave. We'll have you on Ticket Talk tonight again soon.